Whether you're buying a made-to-order or a ready-made blind from us, if you're going to measure and fit it yourself, it's pretty straightforward. First, make sure you have all the parts and tools you need. Steel tape measure, your best to measure in millimetres for accuracy. Drill, screwdrivers, spirit level, screws and wall plugs. Hacksaw, sharp scissors and a straight edge if you need to cut the blind down. If you're fitting your blind inside the recess, when you measure, take into account window handles and whether the recess is square. It often isn't. Decide whether you're going to fit the brackets to the window frame or into the wall and measure accordingly. Measure the widest part of the window and then measure the drop at the sides and in the middle. Take the longest measurement and make note of these. If the blind is going outside the recess, it's usually good to have about 75mm overlap at the top and bottom of the recess. For the drop, measure in 3 places and go for the longest measurement. Decide which side you want the control mechanism. Look for obstructions and so on. If you have a sofa next to the window, for example, make sure the side control goes on the opposite side. If you have small children, we'd recommend you fit a cordless spring mechanism blind. I'll deal with that in a separate video as the fitting process is different. If that isn't practical for you, then you must fit the P-clip supplied with your blind so that you can tidy the side chain away safely. You should always move beds and cots away from the control chain side of the blind, or at least make sure it's out of reach of little hands. Once you've got your blind home, the first step is to assemble it. If you need to trim the width of a ready-made blind because it's too wide, I'll show you how to do that in a separate video. You need to do this before you start fitting the brackets. You have the option of having the blind standard roll or reverse roll. This is how the fabric falls from the roll. Reverse is when it comes over the front of the tube, and standard is when it hangs down the back. But this will expose the back of the fabric, and something to watch if you have a pattern fabric with a different colour backing. The blind will come reverse rolled. If you want to have it standard rolled instead, very carefully unwind your blind, then simply turn it over, making sure you have a very straight fold. Then continue to roll it up so the fabric is now rolling up the back of the tube. The brackets are universal and can be top, face or side fixed. Place the controlled side bracket into position first, then make sure the blind is clear of any obstructions such as window handles. Mark the holes with a pencil, then drill and fix using appropriate fixings. After you have fixed the first bracket, take the assembled blind and insert the pin on the side control into the slot of the bracket. Insert the plastic spring pin into the opposite end to the control end. Push the bracket onto the plastic spring pin. This is the bit where a spare pair of hands will be useful. Offer the blind up into position and mark the intended position of the spring pin bracket. Make sure it's perfectly level using a spirit level. Remove the blind and fix the second bracket. All you need to do now is push and drop the blind into place. And that's it, job done.